This is a show about jewelry, why we wear it, why it matters, how it's made, and what it means. I'm Alex D, and I turn cannabis into gold. I make mind-blowing jewelry in gold, silver, and platinum from cannabis plants here in Canada for stage, screen, for people who want to rock crazy jewelry. I'm the Cannabis Goldsmith. July. Happy birthday, Americans. Happy Independence Day tomorrow, you Americans, you crazy Americans down there. You are so inspiring, but so nutty. Like, so nutty. From a Canadian looking south, oh my goodness. It's like, wow. Wow. But we love you. You know, you're our best friends because you're our neighbors, and we've been next to you for a long time. We speak the same language, pretty much. We have different weird accents, but we still speak the same language. We enjoy hot dogs and hamburgers, both Canadians and Americans. Corn on the cob, we love. We love maple syrup, too, on both sides of the border up here in northeastern USA or southeastern Ontario. So we have a lot in common. We do. But I got to say, as a Canadian looking south, and I know a lot of Americans personally, you guys are next level, I got to say. Anyway, happy Independence Day. Happy birthday to you Americans. We just had our Canada Day, which is a much more subdued affair here. But this isn't the show about politics. This is a show about art. But also about friends. I have my best friend is coming to visit today from Toronto, and his wife. He's seen my little studio space here, and he's driving out just to overnight and see what I'm up to, which is good. I haven't seen him since last year, and I miss him. He's my best friend, and he's bringing his wife, and she's gonna get to see what this place is like. But I got to say, best friends are so good. I am so lucky to have a best friend. Now we don't, like I say, I haven't spoken to him in person since last year, and we rarely talk. We never talk on the phone. We'll send an occasional text to each other, but I know he's there, and he knows that I'm here for him. You know, so that's what it's about. I think we're like a peg in the ground. As everything in the world changes, we have that sort of that benchmark, they call it in the map. The map people call it benchmark. They put like a thing in the ground that doesn't move or doesn't change, so they can measure points from it. That's what a good friendship is like. It just anchors down something real in a continuously changing world, and that's why I am so grateful for my best friend in my life, even though I don't see him all the time. And that's actually probably better too, because sometimes the more you see people, the less you like them. But in our case, the less we see each other, the more we like each other. So how's that? Anyway, he's coming today. I'm kind of excited about that. Well, there'll obviously be a lot of eating for the three of us. There'll be barbecues, no doubt, and there's not a lot of places to eat out here in the rural area, but we'll figure it out. Today I want to talk about ideas and where they come from. Now, I know I've spoken about how a lot of my ideas come from nature. Well, because I make jewelry, I make precious metal jewelry from cannabis plants. So there's a direct relationship between the plant and our products that I make, the products that I make. But other artists like painters and stuff, where do the ideas come from? And I said a couple of weeks ago I watched a master class workshop thing with Ken Burns, the documentary photographer, a guy who builds documentary films out of still photographs, like from the 1800s or whatever. He'll make a movie. He'll make a documentary film. You'll see this on PBS. It'll be Hemingway or or FDR or something like that, and he'll build an entire documentary out of photographs and story created around still images. Now that's Ken Burns, and his style seems to me to be he brute forces it. The one line I got from him in his masterclass was, making a documentary is the industrial manufacturing of anxiety. So he's operating in this anxiety level where he's trying to juggle all these pieces together, and it sounds really stressful to me. It sounds incredibly stressful, but that's how he operates as an artist, as a documentary filmmaker. He's used to working like that. He's used to the anxiety of it all, and now I think it might have become part of his work. Now David Lynch, I'm watching a documentary, or not a documentary. I talked about the documentary I saw with David Lynch called The Art Life, which I recommended. You have to watch. You have to watch it. But I'm watching it right now, a masterclass with David Lynch, and it's like a workshop seminar type thing, and I'm almost done. And it was just fantastic. It just builds on the documentary that I saw, The Art Life, where he describes in more detail his process about making his films. But it's not really about filmmaking. It is about filmmaking, but it's more about art. It's more about art in general, and where art ideas come from, and how you utilize them, and how you connect them with people in order to make like a movie or something that is real. Now, he has some interesting ways to think about, I think about art the same way as he does, but he has a better way of describing it than I ever did or do. So I'm going to use his way of describing how he sees ideas, how the art ideas come from. He says the ideas, David Lynch here, he says the ideas are the most important thing. The most important thing for art, the idea. And he keeps talking about the idea. And without an idea, there's no art, right? And where do you get an idea from? And this is the art idea. This is the thing that you have to make, right? But most people don't even see that, or they don't know how to access that part of the world where those ideas live. Now, David Lynch talks about it like fishing. He says it's like fishing. He says you get a hook, you bait it with desire. So you want to make a documentary film, or you want to make a painting, or you want to make a piece of jewelry, but you don't have any idea how to do it, or what it will look like, or anything, or what color it'll be, or how long it'll be. You don't have any clue, but you just have the desire that you want to make a piece of jewelry out of cannabis, or you want to make a documentary film about the hip hop scene in New York, or whatever the hell it is, right? That's the desire. And then you put that hook in the water and you wait. You wait. And if you're lucky, a fish will bite the hook, and you pull it out of the water, and you'll see this thing that exists in another world completely. Not in your world, but you've brought it into your world. And it looks weird because the fish is not meant to be in our world really. But this is not where it lives, right? It lives in this world that you can't see, the unconscious. Some people call it the subconscious or the unconscious. David Lynch here is talking about water, an ocean or a river or a pond, where the fish, the ideas are. And he even goes into more detail about it too. He speaks in this way, right? About the symbolism of it is like water and fish and fishing, and you pull this thing out, and it obviously it's different, right? And it's not really from this world, and that's what makes sort of the art, good art, like exceptional. It's like it's unusual. it's different, it's odd, but it's colorful and a different shape maybe, and than what you're used to seeing in your own world. And so the fish thing is very, it's a good analogy, I think, fishing. Anyway, he says you sit there and you wait. And there's nothing really you can do to get the fish out of the water. You just have to wait for it to come. And he also goes on to say that you need to be fishing where there's fish. You can't be fishing in a place where there isn't fish. So you have to know at least that much. Like, are there ideas here in this space that I'm at? And if I wait long enough, I'll get one, right? That's how he thinks about it. He thinks that if you wait long enough, the idea will come. And I think this might be a big leap for a lot of people. I know I don't like waiting. I fucking hate waiting. But I understand how this can be a way to get great art ideas, to wait for them to come to you. And it's a luxury. It's one thing I noticed about David Lynch in the documentary, The Art Life. He waits a lot in this documentary. Even he's just sitting in a chair smoking a cigarette and just sitting there. I guess he's fishing. He's waiting for the fish to come to him that he can make into a feature-length film or a painting or whatever, you know. I know with me, when I sit out in the backyard, I described this last year. I sit out, I have this area, this little meadow area in the back, and I sit out there. And often I'll smoke a joint or not, or just sit out there in a chair. And this is where a lot of ideas come to me. And especially when I'm not thinking about jewelry or whatever, it's suddenly I'll get a brilliant idea, or a good idea, from out of nowhere, out of thin air. And it's just the making the space for the idea to surface, to come out into the world. Now, an artist's job is to take this idea and this fish and enlarge it and clarify it and interpret it for the people on dry land. So that's like, this is an amazing rare fish. It's like, look at the colors on this fish. I mean, the fish really represents whatever, you know, the artist is going to make it represent. But the fish is the key piece, right? It's the idea that comes from the unconscious. So this is David Lynch, and when you watch this masterclass with him, I had two senses. One, he's an odd guy. He's odd, and then also I'm odd too, right? And artists are odd. Are odd people. We're a little bit different. We're a little bit different than everyone else. And I think that's good. That's the most amazing part of being an artist, is being different from everyone else. But he's a little bit odd, and you can watch his mannerisms, especially with his hands and stuff. But the other thing I noticed is he goes deep into a trance when he's talking, like a hypnotic trance almost. He's very, very deep in his subconscious when he's talking about certain topics, the idea topic in particular. Or when he's talking about color, or he's talking about these things in the film, in his films, these scenes or whatever, and how the actors engage in them or whatever. But then when he's talking about color or sound or whatever, he goes completely unconscious, like his eyes glaze over, he looks up, he's almost like in a kind of a hypnotic state, and he's just talking about the art. And this is the most important stuff coming out of him. This is like the fish coming out of the water. When he's in a trance himself and he's talking about the art and where it comes from for him, and he's not even, you can tell he's not thinking about it. It's just coming right out of the water right now. That is just gold. And God, there's a couple of the masterclass episodes where I've learned just in the space of 5 minutes more than anything, from him. And it's really hard to communicate, because when you're communicating this way, first off, it's weird. Like when you're talking to somebody and you're looking up and you're kind of you're glazed over and you're just kind of talking, and the words are coming out directly from the soul to the other person. A lot of times you can't even interpret it. The communication is just going right to the other person. And that's what good art does too. Good art does that. Good art, you stand in front of a good painting and it's hitting you on many different levels, right? A lot of different levels. It's hitting you. And this is David Lynch's communication is like this as well, with me anyway. It might put other people off, or other people might love it more, whatever. But for me, he's really speaking to me at a deep level in this thing. And it occurs to me that you can be odd if you're an artist, and in fact, it's an advantage to being an artist, being odd. And I'm odd. I'm an odd character. I like, I've done things that all my friends have not done, right? Stuff like had families or do this, or all the normal stuff that people do. I kind of avoided, and in order to do the art. So artists are a bit odd. We're odd. We're an odd group, really. But the idea is that out of that oddness comes important things, and stuff that the regular folk don't even see, because they're so busy. They're so busy trying to keep their lives in order and stuff happening and all that, or engaging with their boss, or it's just the art, the water and the fish are there, but there's just like a really thick layer of ice or something on top that they can't get to it. And but see, as an artist, that's our job. We live in that world where we can fish, and we can bring fish out for people. We can bring the incredible art and music and design out of that water for the masses, and for the people who have not seen it, but when they do, sometimes understand that it's incredibly familiar. So, David Lynch, thank you. You'll never hear this podcast, but I have to tell you, thank you, man. This I had to see this. It's incredible. So anyway, what am I doing here in the studio? Well, I've got jewelry. I'm working on jewelry. I'm working on some ring designs for a couple in Alberta. I've got a plant in a tent now, and the leaves are too fat to make rings out of. I mean, cannabis plants change their shape constantly from one day to the next. I mean, people don't even notice this. But if you look at a cannabis plant long enough, I guess that's my fishing, sitting there with a fishing pole and the hook baited with an idea. But if you look at a cannabis plant long enough and close enough, and you follow its life cycle, you can see the thing changes constantly. Like, I'm looking for rings. I'm looking for long, thin leaves. And you would think that this would be easy to find one, but no. And the reason I want them long and thin is because they have to wrap around a finger. And then I'm looking for two matching ones, because I'm making a matching pair of rings out of these leaves for this couple, because it's their wedding anniversary. And frankly, because the dude is a cool dude too. He seems like a really cool dude, and I'm sure anybody that cool has an amazing wife. So I want to work on these bands, and they're going to be just phenomenal for them. So at this stage, we're just working on the designs. I haven't decided on metal yet, but working on the design just to see if I can get the right leaf to do it. And so it's taking a bit of time, but he said he isn't in a rush, so that's good. Also, still, the belt buckles are on the bench. Parts are starting to come in now for my computing system. I'm building a new system to edit the video and photography from my cameras. So it'll be much cleaner to deal with the images coming out of the studio. I'm going to dedicate the computer that I use right now for everything just for that. And then I'm building a new system to deal with all my photography stuff as a result of that fundraising campaign that I ran. I'm ordering some parts and stuff already. So I'm building the system that can deal with the digitization of a huge photography collection. So I'm doing a lot, but what it boils down to is I'm building a new computer system to deal with the scanning and the digitization, and then I'm going to use the old one and beef it up a little bit for processing video and stuff coming out of the studio. You didn't get any of that, did you? Anyway, it's kind of like late spring cleaning, digital cleaning. So there'll be room painting, and the one studio space that I'm going to put the scanning room in, it's a smaller room that has less traffic noise. You can hear now the traffic noise here in the summer is like, so the new space will be quieter. I'm building it special. I'm building a little tiny podcasting space in it, so I'll be able to record much cleaner audio every week. So that's going to be a goal of mine here. But once that's there, once that digitization room is in place, that'll be a pond to fish in for me, because I have all these amazing photographs from the 1990s and 2000s that need to be digitized. So that's a pond, and out of that pond is going to be images that are just going to be fucking amazing. I know it, right? I just know it. I feel it. Just like that's the desire. The desire is to digitize. The desire is to find these long lost images, and that's the hook. And then lowering it into the scanning room, and boom, I'm going to be pulling fish out of there like you have no idea. Now there's a mixed metaphor, a David Lynch metaphor for you. The studio, on the other hand, is going to be dirtier. So there's dust, there's metal shavings, there's all, like, it's you. I want to keep these two areas as far apart as possible. In jewelry design, my own jewelry design, is I work a lot in plastics, but I also work some in metals too. So those things have to be kept apart. It's like separate ponds for different things, perhaps, you know. I like working in my art as working in getting inspired, getting the idea from the plant, and then and resolving it in metal, in precious metal. That's what I do. You know, that's my fish. Wow, I'm just kind of meandering today, aren't I? I'm still processing the David Lynch masterclass. That's why. He talks about other stuff in this too. That like the ability to have a studio, right? In the art life, he talked about that, having a studio, a space where you can make stuff. And I did a show recently on building a studio, and your studio can be a tabletop in your kitchen. But if you want to make paintings, you need paint. Like he says, you need to get the stuff to do it, and you need a place to do it in, right? Artist studios, as I mentioned previously, don't have to be fancy. They don't have to be all color coordinated and comfy chairs and stuff. Usually they look like a garage pretty much, filled with just stuff. Like only the artist who works in that studio understands the full beauty of it, of the space. But to somebody looking in, it would be, God, it's like a garage, right? Or it's like just stuff, right, piled in a room with like a little space carved out by the window for making the art or whatever. And it doesn't look, it's kind of quaint, I guess, for somebody who isn't an artist to see a space like that. Like in my space, when you walk into my space, there's a big brand on the my space. When you walk into my studio, there's a big brand wall. Like the brand is on the wall, and there's a small workbench. There's a big table in the middle, and then a wet table with all kinds of like glues and tins of like jars of liquids, and it's kind of like an alchemy place almost. But that's what you need those are the lures, right? And the fish and the fish polish, because once you get the fish out of there, out of the idea, and then you have to polish it up or make sushi out of it or whatever you're gonna do with the fish. I mean, it's your fish, right? You waited, you got it on the hook, and now it's your chance to share it with the world. art is just fantastic. I've been thinking about my community here too. I live in this little tiny hamlet, and I'm trying to figure out how I can do an art thing in my hamlet. Like maybe do a there's a good community center here that's really underutilized. So maybe I can get some of the community. I'm sure people make art in the community. They either make I know there's lots of wood carvers up here, but I mean I'm talking about other stuff like paintings or things like that. I bet tucked away in the town are artists, or in the area. I know for sure there are artists around. So my next hook, I've got another smaller hook. Now this isn't the main hook, but I'm baiting it with a desire to figure out some art thing I can do for my community to link artists in the community together somehow, either with an art show or an art class or something in the community center here, to get the people in the community to roust up the artists, or to get them excited again about art, or get them connected to, oh, I didn't know so-and-so down the street was a potter, right? Or making glass things or whatever. I mean, even though we're in a small hamlet and we know each other here pretty much, or we know each other to see each other, there could be art lurking deep in the area. And I bet there is. And I bet there's some really good art here. So that's the desire, as the desire to do something to maybe link up and grow the local art community in my area. And now I'm just lowering that hook into the water, and I'm going to sit there, but I've also got other hooks in the water too, waiting for the ideas to come. Jewelry designs. I was thinking I haven't had a new jewelry design in a couple of weeks, so I should lower that hook into the water now that the digitization fundraising thing is over. Now my brain is open, so I'm going to lower that hook into the water and just wait for the art to come. It's summertime. That's it. The show is, I'm going to cut out early today because my best friend's coming, and I want to just dust the place a little bit, clean it up a little bit before they arrive, to make it shinier. And that's it. So get out there on your 4th of July. Go swimming. Enjoy the summer. Get out in the sun. Bait a hook with desire and lower it into the river and wait. Wait for the great art ideas to come to you. Wait for the great art ideas, because they will come to you if you want them to. Now, I'll leave you with this story about my dad and fishing. Okay, when my dad was really quite old, he was living in South Africa on the coast, right on the ocean. And he used to go fishing every morning. And the fishing gear they would use to cast into the ocean and off the shore casting, like you couldn't use a little fishing pole, a little fishing rod like you would use in a lake or in North America. No, these things were fucking huge. They were like 3 or 4 times the size of a regular fishing pole most people in North America would be used to. And they're unwieldy, they're heavy. When you cast them, if you're not used to doing it, you're just not going to be able to do it, right? So anyway, my dad was out there retired, right? He's out there fishing every morning for fucking 3 hours, casting into the ocean. And so anyway, when I arrived one year, going for a visit, he takes me fishing, and he hands me this fishing pole that is like 12 feet in length and an inch thick. The sinkers weigh like half a pound because it's the ocean, right? Yeah, there's surge, waves, there's turbulence, all that shit, and they're casting into this, right? So the sinkers are like fucking heavy, you know, not these little BB things that you're used to in North America dropping into a pond or whatever. So Anyway, he hands me this fishing pole, and he says, okay, this here's what you do, and you just like you just do this, and you cast it in the water. And I tried, and I fucking couldn't do it. It was going all over the place because I was used to smaller fishing poles, right? And the old man was such a dick sometimes. He was like, holy fuck, you can't even do that anymore, like kind of thing, right? And this pissed me off he's long dead now, but this pissed me off for many, many years, right? It's like he brought me out there and I couldn't even go fishing with the guy, was some of the thinking I had around this. It's like, you know, how sad am I as a city dwelling person that I can't even fish and cast a fishing pole into the water anymore, you know? And but now I've looked at it quite differently now. It's like, had I plunked him down in front of my computer and told him to defragment my hard drive, that's what he was asking me to do, right? And frankly, that's what I should have done. I should have taken him back into the house after the fishing thing, and I should have sat him down in front of my laptop and said, Dad, can you find the file so-and-so? He, like an 80-year-old, like this is what I should have done, because it would have been the exact same thing. It's like, you know, I internalized all that negativity from that experience for fucking decades, right? And then just thinking about the David Lynch thing, and it all came back, the fishing thing came back to me. It's like, what a fucking dick, man. I should have sat him in front of my computer and got him to defrag the drive, told him something just basic, and he wouldn't have been able to do it. I've since realized that, you know, with practice, my fishing skills would have been better than him, or equal or better than his. But this was like a shaming experience he put me through, right? Or at least that's how I internalized it, right? But anyway, it's taken me years to realize what I could have done that was equivalent to what he had me do, and that's reframe the entire experience. But from a fishing sense, you have different tools too. David Lynch didn't mention this at the size of the fishing pole or the kind of weights or whatever. It got more specific, but I think, you know, he was specific enough for this. So David, thank you, wherever you are. Anyway, I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go out in the sun and just tidy up the garden a bit and do some more polishing. See you next week. The Cannabis Goldsmith is produced by Tribe Communications, Inc. in the Thousand Islands area of Ontario, Canada. You can see what we do at tribe.ca. Send us an email, alexd@cannabisgoldsmith.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Cannabis Goldsmith.